thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Why I Love Flagler County, your local podcast spotlighting local businesses and local residents on what they love about being a part of Flagler County. So, today I'm super excited to have my guest, Mr. Dave, with us today. Dave, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it today.
My pleasure and honor. Thank you.
Of course. Well, if you don't know Dave, Dave and I have known each other for a few months now through the local BNI chapter here in Palm Coast. And let me tell you guys, if you don't know anything about BNI, at BNI, all of the members they get 40 seconds to kind of share what's happening in their business, what's new, what are good referrals and stuff like that. And let me tell you, Dave has the most entertaining 40 seconds that he does. He kind of tortures himself just a little bit, but he does it for our sake, which is so kind of him. So I'm really excited. I think this will be a fun time talking about this. And you do some really cool stuff for different people. I think people will find some really cool facts about what you're doing, and then how it can help them. So I'll let you kick it off. Pretty simple, and tell me a little bit about your journey coming here to Palm Coast, coming here to Flagler.
Okay, so I'm originally from Virginia, just south of DC, and grandma lived in Sebring, Florida, which is pretty much smack dab in the middle. And so every summer we'd go down for a couple of weeks, go see the parks, hang out with grandma and stuff. And during my high school years, my aunt and uncle who lived in Maryland moved to Palm Coast. So we would come, hang out for a couple days, golf, play cards, catch up, and then head down to Sebring, spend time with grandma. And on the way back, golf, play cards, hang out, and then head back up to Virginia. And mom and dad fell in love with the area. So when I graduated, dad retired, 23 years in the Army, 19 in the Army Corps of Engineers. So he
Ah,
was
thank
ready.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And this is where we already knew where we were going to move to. So that's how
nice.
we ended up here.
That's so cool. It's so funny to hear people's stories on kind of how they find Palm Coast. Because you never really talk to anyone who's like, yeah, ever since I was a child, I wanted to move to Palm Coast. You don't really hear those stories. Like you maybe
Yeah.
would with like
No,
Orlando or New York or LA, right? It's kind of just like, oh, we kind of discovered it through a family member or a friend, and then we kind of fell in love with it when they came here. So I love asking that question because I just had so many different types of stories. It was
yeah,
awesome.
it was wild to find out that at one point, I think it was like in New York or something, Eric Estrada was hyping up Palm Coast as like a place to move. So I was like, I've actually met a couple of people who lived in New York at the time that saw those commercials. So
Nice. Well, there
yeah,
you go. We get a good reputation, I hope. We're gonna go, well, a lot of people want to keep it a secret still, but it's okay. It is. It's more great
yeah,
people
tell
like,
the band.
yeah, more great people like Dave coming into the community, I hope. Well, Dave, so you own Perfect Pressure Massage. Why don't you share a little bit on your story on getting involved? Because it's a really cool story. I remember you sharing just a few weeks ago at BNI.
Gotcha. Yeah. So how I got into massage isn't really an amazing story. I just used to give like friends or relatives or coworkers who were hurting a little bit like that very generic over the shoulder,
Right.
rub the neck, rub the shoulders kind of thing. And they all, I got enough compliments from folks that they were like, man, you might consider doing massage. So I was like, okay. And I just went to school for it. So it's like, whatever. I already had an anatomy and physiology background with my UCF degree in sports and fitness, which it's now under a totally different name now. But so I did that in 2011, got my license in 2012. And then my first job was at a Cairo PT pain management office with a full attached membership gym. And I used to watch the physical therapists do their thing. And I was like, man, I would love to add that to what I do. And as it turns out, trigonometry is very hard. So instead of getting my doctorate in PT, I said, okay, well, I'll get my physical therapist assistant license. And so that's how I combine the orthopedics with the feel goods and get a very effective, efficient result. You don't leave just feeling good. You live feeling good and more functional, pain free. It's It's the
Yeah.
best of both worlds.
Yeah, because a huge part of massage, and I think this is the case with any problem, right? You don't want to go into something to get it fixed and get it fixed for 10 minutes. You want to get it fixed to start going down the habits of, massages are always good, so I'm not saying that, but it's not as painful, because sometimes
Exactly.
when you first start going, it's like, wait, there are so many knots in different places that I never really realized until like
Yeah.
Dave fixed them. And now, a year later, I'm coming back to Dave and I have maybe one or two knots. It's not as extreme, it's not as severe. So I think that's a really great thing that you're able to provide with the extra knowledge with that. Not so much doctor. No, no,
Absolutely.
that's a lot of work. I don't blame you at all.
Yeah. 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 I mean, there's nothing that's well, there's very few things that are more of a bummer than not being able to enjoy the things you like
Right.
to do, whether that's your work, things with your kids, your recreational activities. So I enjoy being able to help people get back to that, improve function, improve life, quality of life.
Right.
So
Yeah, no, it's so fun. I was just at Dr. Erica, who is the chiropractor here in our BNI group, and
yeah,
she found this knot in my back that I didn't even realize I had until like she kind of worked on it. And I was like, now I keep touching it. I'm like, wow, I really had it back there. It was crazy.
that's
So
what that's supposed to feel like.
yeah. So that's why you go to someone like Dave, you go to someone like Dr. Erica, because they're able to find those things that you don't even realize you have. You're like, why is this killing me? Now you know.
Yeah,
You also help a lot with athletes, am I right?
I do. I've coached youth football, well, high school and youth football for 15 years. I helped start up the Matanzas program back in
Nice.
2005. And then when I graduated in 2012 with my massage license, and I had a 9 to 5 job, I couldn't make those hours work because practice is like 2:30 to 5:30. So I transitioned into Little League, Pop Warner. I coached in PAL for a couple years, but now I'm in Pop Warner, and had the great fortune of helping the 11U team become undefeated ECC conference champions last year.
Nice.
Unscored on, unscored on.
Nice.
So
Nice. We have a little
we're
storm
hoping to
going on,
repeat.
right? Yeah, we have a little storm going on in Palm Coast. So my lights keep flickering. So hopefully it
Got
doesn't destroy the quality of the video. Hopefully we're able to finish off. And I only mention that just in case if there's a random rough cut, people know why.
yeah,
But yeah, well, it's so rewarding to be a part of something like that, especially when they're so young. I used to coach figure skating for toddlers. So Dave was telling me just a little bit on coaching through different sports, and he was mentioning his latest team with Little League and how has that been, and we were just talking before we hit recording right now on football planning. So that was really, really cool. And how long have you been doing coaching? I think you mentioned already, but just a refresher for me.
yeah. It was 15 years, 7 years at Matanzas, helping start up the program, and then because I got a 9 to 5 job, I couldn't be there for high school practices. So I transitioned to Little League slash PAL football slash now Pop Warner football.
Yeah. Oh, I remember what I think I was saying. I think it was in the middle of my sentence where I was saying like it's just so rewarding to be a part of the kids' lives when it's something like that. Because a lot of them, most of the time they take sports pretty seriously, right? There are some days they don't want to show up, but that's okay. But it's just so much fun to watch them grow, and start taking all of the advice, and you really see it throughout the performance. So, I wanted to
Yeah.
highlight that. It's so fun. It's something. It's
It's
like one of
yeah.
yeah. It's one of
One of
those
the
like.
most
Mhm.
one of the best parts was when coaching at Matanzas was helping kids get into college.
Yeah.
And then when they would earn like so any amount of scholarship money and just easing that financial burden too for them.
Yeah.
Oh, so awesome.
Yeah, and they're such talented kids too, so you're really happy for their success and where that's leading. So,
Yeah.
that's always really great. Well, because you've had experience and you work a lot with athletes, I'd love for you to talk just really quick on are there any common misconceptions people have when it comes to something like massages, or maybe something like, oh, I don't need to go there, I'm fine, or maybe I'll go at another day. Is there anything that maybe people should know? Go, oh, no, maybe I should reach out to Dave. Maybe I should start looking into it.
Yeah. And even if it's not with me, because I'm not how I do things isn't for everyone. I've
Sure.
got probably over 1,000 unique clients and patients, meaning like not repeaters. I've had a couple of dozen of them just how I did things wasn't for them. So first and foremost, I totally respect that. At the same time, do find someone. Don't wait for it to be a problem and affect your quality of life. Everyone has something. Once you get past that 27, 28, 29-year old kind of mark, our bodies go from make, produce to maintain, prioritize. As you can tell, my body stopped prioritizing on certain things. So that's okay. Um, but yeah, like I mean, don't wait for something to be hurting. That's too late. Get
Right.
ahead of it. It's totally worth it. And of all the modalities, massage is typically regarded as more pleasurable than physical therapy or
Yeah,
this or that or surgery, something that could have been totally managed way ahead of time. So
definitely.
please, yeah, you are worth it. Don't keep putting other things as a priority over your health, because at some point you're going to want to pick up your grandkid, you're going to want to play with your boy and girl or whatever, and you're not going to be able to because you just feel so stiff. you
Mm,
know One of the coolest bits of information I learned in PTA school was they did a study where they sent PTA researchers out to all these different outpatient clinics. And the point was they went to random clinics and pulled random files where the main complaint was just like chronic ache and pain. And they found 90% plus of all of those cases traced back just to some postural deficit. And when they handled that and got the posture better and the core strengthening better, a lot of that discomfort went away. And
yeah.
if you don't handle that, that's when the dominoes start to fall. And now I've been in this position for so long now, my shoulder needs extra care, or my back, or my hips, blah, blah, blah. So
Yeah.
please see someone and don't wait.
Yeah. Well, I'm really glad that you brought up, quality of life. And I think there's definitely a misconception people have is like, oh, I'll go get a massage when this happens, when my calendar frees up a little bit, when I don't have to do as much.
Yeah.
And it's really not. I think when you start to see massage as one of those things that should be incorporated in, like, on a monthly basis, every 2 months or something like that, something that's more in your routine and less
Yeah.
of like, oh, it's like it's not a vacation essentially, right? You don't have to block out 9,000 days, you don't have to plan so far in advance. It's not
Yeah.
like this huge thing you have to take time off, it's like, what is it, maybe like an hour, maybe 90 minutes if you really factor in some other things, maybe two
Yeah.
hours if you need to drive just a little bit, because everything
Yeah.
in Palm Coast is 15 minutes away. So it's not
Or
that
at least
hard.
it used to be.
Uh, yeah, I was in traffic this morning behind during school zone. So I was an extra
Oh,
like
joy.
10 minutes and I was
Oh,
like, I forgot about school. I forgot
yeah.
people go to school. Um, I forgot that was a thing.
I have to take a youngster every morning.
So
So,
you know the timings. Um, But yeah, so it's one of those things where it's like you mentioned, maintaining it. And even when you are younger, I know that a lot of people, when I talk to people who deal a lot with self-care, they're like, that younger crowd, they think they're invincible, right? People who are like, I'm like 20, right? You're like, oh, I can
yeah.
do whatever I want. I can eat all of these things. But it always ends up catching up. But it just makes sense. You feel better when you start taking care of things like, getting massage and making sure that in 10 years you don't go to get a massage and then the guy's like, wait, why do you have 9,000 knots in your back? What is going on? Why are you so messed
Yeah.
up?
Yeah.
So I'm so glad that you touched on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And people don't realize, like, you don't need a referral to go to see a physical therapist. Um, we have what we call direct access. Now, each state has their own like limitations on it, like what you can and can't do, but it's great just to go for an assessment. And you can do this at chiropractors too. There's no problem there either, but it's always good. Just like, where am I lacking range of motion? Where am I lacking strength? Um, because those can become the problem. It's like I said at the meeting yesterday, you know, I have neck pain when I do barbell or pec deck presses because I can't get my palm to pronate where it needs to. So what ends up, I flare out a little bit. Now all the pressure goes in the shoulder, and then my brain goes, we need to support the shoulder, recruit, recruit,
Mm,
recruit. And so I usually will come up off the bench and I'm just like, golly. But it's all just because of my forearm lacking a little bit of range of motion.
yeah.
And it can, that I think that's one of the things is like, don't think it's innocuous and not important. It can lead down a hall you don't want to go down.
Yeah. And I
But getting back
mhm.
to like, PTs and all that stuff, like just getting that simple and knowing in your own personal workouts, like work on this, and work on this will save you tons of money and time in the future.
Mhm, definitely, and I'm so glad that you brought up what you said
I think you
yesterday at the beginning.
froze.
Oh,
Oh,
can
there
you
we
hear
go.
me?
No, we're moving in slow mo now. There we go.
Hello. Is that okay?
There we go. Okay,
I'm
all right.
just a little slow, I think, with that. But
It's
I'm
okay.
so glad that you brought up what you said yesterday during the BNI meeting, because yesterday Dave took his time, his 40 seconds, to kind of explain, the forearm and the stress on the neck and the shoulders. And I think what is really important is that that's why you go to someone who's a professional, right? It's not just, your brother, your sister, even if they're really great at like, working out some of the muscles in your neck, they don't know where the problem lies. They don't really know a lot of the habits and they don't know what causes what, right? But that's why you'd go
Mhm.
to a professional because like I know he Dave asked everyone to raise their hands if they thought it was like, is it the neck? Is it the forearm? Is it this? Is it that? And like maybe three people knew that it was the forearm and they knew for sure. Right? There's somebody like, yeah, like I'll just raise my hand. Like I didn't know what was going on. I was like, I don't know what any of this is, right? But
Same.
yeah, but like I know Sam Hayes, who does also something similar. She does a lot of reflexology, facial reflexology. She knew, and that's why
Yeah.
it's important to go to a professional and talk to them and make sure that they understand what's going on, because they can not only relieve the pressure, but they can go where it is what's it like where it's really stemming from is what I should say. So they
Exactly.
can get to the root of an issue and not just mask it up for a nice week or so.
Exactly. I take so much pride um when my people come back in and they're like, yeah, man, I felt better for like a couple of weeks. And I'm like, yes, yes, not just the rest of the day or a couple of days. Like we had sustained effect. And
Hmm.
then it's just, you see them light up. And it's like, yes, that's what it's all about.
Perfect. Well, Dave, thank you so much for coming on two times now that we have to merge it a little bit. I really
It's
appreciate
all
your time and sharing a lot of your knowledge. There's just so much information out there, and there's a lot of things that people think that maybe they know and they don't know. I know I'm guilty of that. I'm like, yeah, I don't need to do this because I know everything. It's like, no, I don't know anything, actually. What's the best way people can reach out to learn a little bit more about you and your services and how maybe you can help them?
absolutely. I have a website, www.perfectpressuremassage.com. Facebook is, facebook.com/ppm Palm Coast. Um, Email is ppmpalmcoast@gmail.com. But my preferred method of contact, because I'm so horrible with email, is my phone number, which is 386-569-7232. And you can text or call that.
Perfect. So I'll make sure I have that information in the description so people can click on that, copy and paste it, whatever they need to do, just a little bit easier. Again, Dave, thank you so much for your time today. And to everyone watching, I really appreciate you as well. And I will see you next time. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.